The conquered spire rotated with diplomatic patience, and Elias Rowan tried to look like a man who belonged inside it. He held a glass of something luminous and allegedly non-corrosive, nodding at beings whose anatomy required him to adjust his eye line every few seconds. Translation drones drifted above the crowd, humming softly as they converted 12 languages into something survivable. Elias had prepared 3 safe topics in advance: stellar cartography, mutual trade optimism, and the weather on planets with no weather. He was halfway through a conversation about tariffs on helium-3 when he saw her. Lady Varial of the Lethari stood at the center of a quiet orbit of observers. She looked, at first glance, entirely human. Tall, composed, dark hair drawn back in a style that suggested either royalty or someone who had never once lost a pen. Then she turned slightly, and the light caught the elegant sweep of her ears, long, arched, tapering to fine points that seemed almost too precise to be natural. They angled subtly as she listened to the ambassador beside her, adjusting with deliberate movements. Elias forgot the last 3 tariffs he had memorized. Someone murmured her name to him with the same tone one might use for a supernova: high status, cultural authority, not a person one casually startled. He did not mean to approach her. His feet, traitorous things, carried him forward while his brain lagged several diplomatic meters behind. When he reached her, he bowed slightly, because that seemed statistically safer than not bowing. "Lady Varial," he said. "Elias Rowan, cultural liaison, occasional astrophysicist, full-time accidental embarrassment." Her gaze settled on him. It was steady without being unkind. "Elias Rowan," she replied, the translation drone smoothing the edges of her voice into his language. "Your reputation precedes you." He blinked. "I was not aware I had one. Should I apologize in advance?" A faint pause. Then, almost imperceptibly, one of her ears shifted forward. "That remains to be determined." He became aware that he was still holding his glowing drink. He set it down on a passing tray before he could spill it on interspecies relations. Up close, he noticed the intricate filigree woven into her ceremonial mantle, threads of metallic fiber forming patterns that seemed to shift if he focused too long. "That is extraordinary work," he said, gesturing lightly. "The patterning, it's beautiful and it suits you. I mean, not that it would not suit someone else. It would, but it suits you particularly well." Silence. It did not fall. It expanded. The nearest Lethari observer inhaled sharply. Across the room, a cluster of human delegates stopped mid-laugh. The translation drones chimed once, as if clearing their mechanical throats. Varial did not look away. Her ears angled forward in perfect symmetry. "You offer public praise," she said. "Yes," Elias replied, because retreat felt like stepping backward into a black hole, with direct eye contact. "I was attempting sincerity, and without deflection." He hesitated. "I could attempt deflection now, if that would help." A murmur rippled outward. The air itself seemed to lean back. "Elias Rowan," Varial said, and there was a new quality in her voice, something focused. "I accept your declaration." Your declaration," she repeated. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting someone else to be standing there making reckless compliments. "I believe there has been a translation error." The drone hovered obligingly between them. "Translation accuracy, 99.98%. "That is uncomfortably high," Elias muttered. Varial inclined her head. "Among the Lethari, public admiration offered without hesitation constitutes an initiation of the chase." "The chase," Elias echoed, "as in cardio." A human aide made a strangled sound. Several Lethari stepped back, clearing space with quiet efficiency. "The chase," Varial continued, "is a ritual of courtship." Elias considered fainting, but calculated that collapsing in low gravity might only prolong the spectacle. "I assure you," he said carefully, "that my statement was intended as polite appreciation of textile craftsmanship." "Intent," she said, "is one variable, meaning is another." That feels like something I should have learned before leaving Earth. Her ears tilted slightly, not quite symmetrical now. You may withdraw. Hope flared, I may. You may, she confirmed. Withdrawal is recognized as a response. It carries its own implications. What implications? That you are unwilling to test compatibility. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Compatibility in what sense? In temperament, in intellect, in resilience. Resilience, he repeated faintly. Yes. He looked around the hall. Every pair of eyes, compound, luminous, multifaceted, or reassuringly human, was fixed on them. If I run, he asked quietly, is that considered resilience? A flicker crossed her expression, not quite a smile. It is considered aerobic. A ripple of restrained laughter moved through the crowd. Elias exhaled slowly. What does the chase involve? A sequence of trials, she said. Conversation, cooperation, observation. It is not a hunt for possession. It is an inquiry. An inquiry, he echoed. That sounds almost academic. It is rigorous. I was afraid you would say that. She stepped slightly closer, not enough to invade his space, but enough that he felt the shift. You spoke without calculation, she said. That is rare. I wish to determine whether it was accident or character. I would very much like to claim character, he said. But statistically, accident is plausible. Another murmur, softer this time. Will you withdraw? She asked. He thought of the careful speeches, the safe topics, the way everyone here measured words like unstable isotopes. He thought of her ears, angled forward in undisguised attention. If I participate, he said slowly, am I permitted to ask questions? You are expected to. And if I fail, then we will both have learned. That is unsettlingly reasonable. Elias Rowan. Yes. Will you engage in the chase? He swallowed. I will engage. The words seemed to lock into place around them. The observers shifted again, but this time the distance they created felt ceremonial rather than alarmed. The translation drones emitted a soft harmonic tone, recording the declaration. Variel inclined her head, solemn now. Then it begins. Elias managed a thin smile. For the record, he said, next time I admire someone's clothing, I am submitting the compliment in writing. One of her ears angled sideways, almost playfully. Take care, she replied. Written declarations are legally binding. The ballroom did not resume its former noise. It rearranged itself around the fact of the chase. Elias stood where he was, acutely aware that his pulse had chosen this moment to attempt orbital escape velocity. Across from him, Lady Variel regarded him with the same composed attention she might have given to a delicate equation. Is there paperwork? He asked. There is precedent, she replied. That is not the same thing. It is sufficient. A semicircle of Lethari observers formed at a respectful distance. Human delegates attempted to look supportive while calculating how to explain this to their superiors. The translation drones shifted into a tighter orbit, their lights dimming to record mode. Variel lifted one hand slightly. The murmur quieted. The first measure, she said, is discourse. Elias blinked. Conversation. Yes. He exhaled. I am excellent at conversation. I have been talking myself into trouble since childhood. We shall determine the quality of that skill. A low table was brought forward by attendants who moved with ceremonial precision. Two chairs faced each other. The symbolism was not subtle. Elias sat. If this ends with a written exam, he said, I would like it noted that I did not bring a pencil. Variel took the seat opposite him. Her ears angled toward him with attentive symmetry. Elias Rowan, she began, a colony on the edge of your system is failing. Resources are limited. You may save the agricultural dome or the medical dome. The population is equal. Which do you choose? He stared at her. You begin lightly, I see. Answer. He folded his hands to stop them fidgeting. If I save the agricultural dome, the medical dome fails and people die now. If I save the medical dome, the food supply collapses and people die later. Yes, Are there no additional variables? You may request clarification. Can we evacuate? Insufficient time. He inhaled slowly. Then I choose the agricultural dome. A ripple moved through the observers. Explain, Varial said. Food sustains everyone, he replied. Without it, the medical dome cannot function long-term. It is a terrible choice. But it preserves the possibility of recovery. And those who perish in the medical dome. They perish, he said quietly, and I would carry that. Silence stretched, taut but not hostile. Would you announce your decision publicly? She asked. Yes. Why? Because secrecy breeds resentment. If I am responsible, I should be visible. One of her ears shifted slightly, not quite forward, not quite neutral. Second inquiry, she said. An allied species betrays your trust in a minor matter. Exposure would damage relations but preserve your pride. Concealment would maintain peace but cost you personally. Which do you choose? Is pride quantifiable? He asked. No. Unfortunate. He leaned back. I would confront them privately first. That is not the choice presented. I am human. We specialize in inconvenient third options. A faint sound, almost a suppressed laugh, moved through the Lithari ranks. You must choose, Varial insisted. Peace, he said at last, but not silence. I would absorb the insult publicly and address it directly with them in private. Pride is less useful than stability. And if they betray you again, then I revise my strategy and admit I misjudged. You admit error easily. I prefer it to being wrong for decades. This time the murmur carried approval. Varial regarded him steadily. You do not attempt to impress. I assure you I am attempting very hard. This is simply my maximum. A pause. Final inquiry of this measure, she said. If you discovered that your initial compliment was based on incomplete cultural understanding, would you retract it? He hesitated. I would clarify it, he said slowly. I meant what I said. Your mantle is extraordinary. It suits you. That meaning does not vanish because I misunderstood the consequences. And the consequences? He glanced around the hall, at the attentive silence, at the careful distance everyone maintained. I am currently living them. A subtle shift passed through her expression. Her ears angled forward a fraction more. You do not resent this? She asked. I resent my ignorance, he said, not the opportunity. A translation drone emitted a soft harmonic tone, logging the exchange. Varial inclined her head. You have completed the first measure. Elias blinked. That was a measure. Yes, I did not even stretch. Further measures will require greater exertion. I was afraid of that. She rose. He followed a second later, nearly knocking his chair backward in reduced gravity. He caught it with an awkward grab. Graceful, he muttered. Recovery is valued, she said. The semicircle dissolved slightly, though the observers did not disperse. The air felt different now, less brittle, more charged. What happens next? Elias asked quietly. The chase proceeds beyond words, Varial replied. That sounds ominous. It is practical. He rubbed his temples briefly. For my own understanding, this ritual is not about possession. No, not about dominance. No. Then what are you seeking? She held his gaze without wavering. Equilibrium. He considered that. And if we discover we are profoundly unbalanced, then we disengage with clarity. That is remarkably reasonable. Our traditions are often mischaracterized. I suspect ours are as well. A human delegate edged closer, whispering urgently, Elias, are you all right? I believe I am being academically evaluated, Elias replied. It is unclear whether I am passing. Varial's ear flicked toward the whisper, then returned to him. You are not failing. High praise, he said. Please be careful. I have learned the danger of compliments. For the first time, unmistakably, she smiled. It was brief. It was controlled, but it altered the atmosphere more than any formal declaration. The chase, she said softly, has begun in earnest. Elias exhaled, steadying himself. Then I suggest, he said, That we both prepare for the possibility that I will ask very inconvenient questions. I expect nothing less, she replied. And somewhere above them, the spire continued its patient rotation, as if adjusting its orbit to accommodate a ritual older than either of their worlds. The summons arrived at 300 station time. Elias stared at the message hovering above his wristband and considered pretending to be in a coma. Lady Varial requests your presence, the station AI intoned pleasantly. Transportation to the Heliox terraforming array departs in 12 minutes. 12, Elias muttered. That is not a number, that is an ambush. He dressed in what he hoped was field-appropriate attire and boarded the shuttle with the air of a man walking into an exam he had not known was scheduled. Varial was already seated inside, secured with magnetic restraints, her ears angled slightly toward him as he entered. "You are punctual," she said. "I ran," he replied. "If this is resilience training, please note the cardio." "The second measure requires shared function," she said. "That sounds less like romance and more like group assignment. Inaccurate partnerships fail quickly under strain." "Ah," he said, "so we are stress testing." "Yes." The shuttle disengaged, gliding toward the distant structure of the Heliox array. A lattice of orbital platforms surrounded a volatile star, managing atmospheric processors for a developing colony. "Is the array stable?" Elias asked. "It was," she said, "until 47 minutes ago." He stared at her. "You are telling me this calmly. Panic is inefficient." "I am not panicking," he said quickly. "I am pre-panicking. It is a preparatory state." A vibration passed through the shuttle as it locked onto the docking ring. Warning glyphs flickered across the interface in 3 languages. "Solar flux spike," the AI reported. "Automated shield calibration offline." Elias closed his eyes briefly. "Of course it is." They disembarked into the control corridor. Engineers moved briskly, exchanging data bursts. A Lethari technician inclined her head to Varial. "Manual override required," the technician said. "Electromagnetic interference is degrading central control." Varial turned to Elias. "You are experienced with stellar modeling." "I prefer stars that do not actively attempt to kill infrastructure." "You will assist." That was not phrased as a request. It was not. They entered the primary control chamber. Holographic projections of the star's activity pulsed in erratic rhythms. Elias approached the console. "Shield harmonics are misaligned." The flare shifted the particle density. "You comprehend this quickly," Varial said. "I have spent years arguing with stars," he replied. "They rarely listen." Another tremor passed through the structure. A warning tone rose in pitch. "Radiation surge in outer ring," the AI announced. Varial's ears flinched sharply. Elias noticed. "Your auditory range," he said. "The interference, does it hurt?" "It is disruptive." "That is not an answer." "It is manageable." "On a scale from mild irritation to existential agony." She hesitated, closer to the latter. He swore softly and adjusted the console filters. "I am narrowing the frequency band in this chamber. That will reduce data resolution. It will also reduce your pain." "A beat. Proceed," she said. He rerouted the signal, fingers moving faster now. The holographic star stabilized marginally. "Manual calibration requires dual authorization," the technician called. Varial stepped beside him. "We synchronize inputs. On 3, he asked. "Yes." 1, he said. 2, 3. They engaged the override simultaneously. The system resisted, then recalibrated with a low, resonant hum. "Outer ring stabilizing," the AI confirmed. "Shield coherence increasing." Elias exhaled. "Please tell me that was the worst of it." "Uncertain," Varial replied. "Encouraging." Another spike flared across the projection. He groaned. "The star is improvising." "You admire improvisation," she said. "In music, not in thermonuclear plasma." He recalculated the harmonics. If we stagger the shield phases instead of aligning them, you introduce temporal variance, she finished. Yes, the flare cannot hit all segments simultaneously. She studied the projection for a fraction of a second. It may succeed. That is the most romantic endorsement I have received this week. They implemented the adjustment. The next surge struck and dispersed unevenly, absorbed in segments rather than shattering the whole. Coherence holding, the AI reported. A collective exhale moved through the chamber. Elias leaned back against the console. Is it over? For now, Varial said. He glanced at her ears. They had relaxed slightly. Pain level, he asked. Reduced. Good. She regarded him. You altered the filters for my benefit. Yes. You did not announce it. I am learning that declarations have consequences. A faint curve touched her mouth. The second measure, she said quietly, observes conduct under strain. Ah, he replied. And how am I doing, aside from sweating through advanced alloys? You remain candid. You prioritize function over pride. I also complain frequently. That is noted. He looked at the stabilized star projection. I did not consider this part of courtship. The chase is not confined to halls and words, she said. Compatibility must endure disruption. I see. She stepped closer to the console, reviewing the data. You did not attempt to assume command. I am not qualified to command this array. Many would have pretended. I prefer not to destroy orbital infrastructure through ego. That preference is advantageous. He folded his arms. May I ask something? You may. Why choose this as a measure? The array could have been repaired by your engineers alone. Yes. Then why include me? Her ears angled toward him again, intent and unmistakable. Because partnership is revealed most clearly when the outcome matters, she said. He absorbed that in silence. Around them, the engineers resumed controlled operations. The star continued its distant turbulence, now buffered by recalibrated shields. Elias let out a slow breath. If the third measure involves black holes, he said, I would appreciate advance notice. Her gaze held his. The third measure, she replied, will require less running. I was not running. You were internally sprinting. That is accurate. For a moment neither spoke. The chamber hummed with restored equilibrium. Elias Rowan, she said at last, you did not withdraw. He met her eyes. No, he said, I did not. By the time they returned from the Heliox array, the chase had developed a public relations department. Elias learned this when his wristband began vibrating with incoming requests labeled. Comment, clarification, and unhelpfully explain yourself. He stared at the stream of headlines scrolling across the diplomatic network. Human initiates LETHARI noble right. Accident or strategy? Is this how Earth negotiates? He closed his eyes. I would like to go back to arguing with stars, he muttered. Varial stood beside him in the transit corridor. Your media is efficient. This is not efficiency. This is sport. Clarify, they are placing bets. On the outcome of the chase? Yes, she considered this. That is pragmatic. It is mortifying. A Lethari envoy approached, bowing to Varial. A public forum has been convened. Questions regarding propriety and precedent require response. Of course they do, Elias sighed. Why repair orbital infrastructure quietly when we can debate my manners publicly? Varial's ears angled toward him. You may decline to attend, and that would imply that you fear scrutiny. He straightened slightly. I dislike scrutiny. That is different. Will you attend? He hesitated only a moment. Yes. The forum chamber filled quickly. Representatives from multiple species occupied elevated tiers. Holographic recorders activated, capturing every syllable for archival eternity. Elias leaned toward Varial. If I say something foolish, please pretend I am performing an obscure human ritual. I will consider it. An elder Lethari rose first. Lady Varial, the elder began, the chase is a solemn tradition. Your selection of an uninitiated foreign delegate has caused concern. Concern is not prohibition. Varial replied calmly. The elder's gaze shifted to Elias. Human, did you study our customs before issuing your declaration? Elias cleared his throat. No, I admired fabric. A ripple of restrained laughter moved through the chamber. You admit ignorance, the elder said. Enthusiastically, Elias replied. I specialize in it. Another representative spoke, this one human. Elias Rowan, were you aware that your compliment would initiate a courtship ritual? I was not, he said. Then do you claim coercion? Varial's ears angled sharply. Elias glanced at her, then back at the assembly. No, I claim vocabulary failure. A few chuckles, louder now, the human representative pressed. If unaware, why continue? Elias inhaled slowly. Because once I understood the meaning, I had a choice. Withdraw and imply that engagement across cultures is tolerable only when convenient, or participate and risk embarrassment. And you chose embarrassment. I am well practiced, he said. It seemed efficient. This time, even the Lethari elders allowed a faint murmur of amusement. Another voice rose from the upper tier. Lady Varial, does this not compromise your status? My status is not fragile, she replied evenly. It is informed by my decisions. And if he fails, then he fails openly, she said. As do I. Silence followed that. Elias shifted his weight. For the record, he added, failure remains a strong possibility. A representative from a crystalline species projected a query. Human Elias Rowan, what do you seek from this chase? He blinked. Understanding, he said after a moment. And perhaps to ensure that the next time I compliment someone, I do so with full awareness of interstellar consequences. Laughter broke more freely now. Varial inclined her head slightly. The chase is not conquest, she said to the chamber. It is evaluation. I evaluate him. He evaluates me. If either withdraws, the matter concludes. And if neither withdraws, the elder asked, then equilibrium may be achieved. The words settled over the assembly. A human diplomat leaned toward Elias and whispered, you realize this is being broadcast to 3 systems. Excellent, Elias whispered back. My parents always wanted visibility. The questioning resumed. Elias Rowan, the elder said, during the Heliox crisis you altered shield filters without formal authority. Why? He felt every gaze sharpen. Because she was in pain, he said simply. A hush. Varial's ears stilled. You prioritized her over optimal data resolution, the elder observed. Yes. Was that strategic? No. Then what? He exhaled. It was immediate. The crystalline representative projected another query. You act on instinct rather than protocol. Frequently to my detriment, Elias replied. A soft current of approval moved through the chamber. The elder regarded Varial. You accept this variability. I do, she said. And if his variability disrupts your position, then my position was insufficiently stable. A pause. Elias leaned closer to her. Is this the part where someone challenges me to ceremonial combat? There is no combat, she said quietly. Good. I did not stretch. The elder lifted a hand. The forum recognizes the legitimacy of the ongoing chase. However, scrutiny will persist. Scrutiny is educational, Varial said. Elias nodded. Uncomfortable but educational. The session concluded not with applause but with acknowledgement. Representatives dispersed in measured clusters, their conversations already branching into analysis and speculation. As the chamber emptied, Elias let out a long breath. On a scale from mild concern to existential scandal, where are we? Midway, Varial replied, comforting. She turned to face him fully. You did not deflect responsibility. I considered it. You chose otherwise. Yes. Her ears angled toward him, protective and intent. Public evaluation is the third measure. I suspected as much. Many falter when observed. I prefer to falter honestly, he said. It saves time. A faint curve touched her mouth again. You remain, she said. I remain, he echoed. Around them the chamber lights dimmed to standby. The recorders powered down, storing the exchange in diplomatic archives that would outlive them both. Elias glanced at her. How many measures are there? One remains. He swallowed. Is it quieter than this one? Yes. Good, he said. I perform better when the entire galaxy is not taking notes. Her ears tilted slightly, almost playful. Do not assume, she replied, that the final measure is easier. He sighed. I never assume ease anymore, I assume consequence. That, she said softly, is progress. They walked from the chamber side by side, not as spectacle, not as scandal, but as two figures still moving forward under observation, neither retreating, neither rushing, the chase tightening not through pursuit, but through persistence. The final summons did not arrive with alarms or headlines. It arrived as a simple message. Observation Deck 7, private. Elias read it twice, as if additional text might appear and clarify whether he should bring protective gear or philosophical arguments. He went alone. Varial stood near the central console when he entered. No attendants, no observers lining the walls, only a single archival drone hovering at a respectful distance. This is the final measure, he asked. Yes, she said. I was expecting at least one elder glaring disapprovingly. They will review the record later. Of course they will. He stopped a few steps from her. What happens now? We speak without audience, she said, without performance, without strategy. That is unsettling. It is necessary. He nodded once. All right. Silence settled between them, not heavy, not hostile, just present. You may begin, she said. He inhaled slowly. When this started, I thought it was a mistake, a cultural misfire. I assumed I would endure it politely and retreat at the first dignified opportunity. You did not. No. Why? He considered the question carefully. Because at some point it stopped being about the compliment. It became about whether I was willing to stay when things became complicated. And are you? Yes, he said, but not blindly. She tilted her head slightly. Clarify. I do not want to be a symbol, he said. Not of unity, not of novelty, not of scandal. I want to be a participant. If this continues, it must be because we choose it, not because it impresses anyone. Her ears angled forward, steady and intent. You fear becoming an emblem, she said. I fear becoming decorative. A quiet pause. That fear is rational, she replied. He let out a small breath of relief. Good. I was worried it was just my insecurity. It is both. He smiled faintly. That is fair. She stepped closer, not closing the space entirely, but narrowing it. My turn, she said. I am listening. When you spoke to me that night, you did not calculate advantage. You did not evaluate status. You saw something and named it. I nearly died for that. You were inconvenienced. Semantically debatable. Her mouth curved slightly. I have spent much of my life among those who speak carefully, she continued, who weigh every word against consequence. You did not. I have since learned to weigh them, he said. Yes, she agreed. You have. He felt that settle in him. It was true. He had begun to pause before speaking, not from fear but from awareness. The chase is designed to reveal imbalance, she said, to expose pride, volatility, indifference. And he asked quietly, you are not indifferent, she said. You are volatile in minor, tolerable ways. I will take that as praise. It is. She held his gaze steadily. You adjusted the shield frequency at Heliox without announcement. You absorbed public scrutiny without deflection. You did not withdraw when misunderstanding would have excused you. He shrugged slightly. I dislike unfinished things. This would have been easy to leave unfinished. Yes, he admitted, it would have. Silence returned, deeper now but not uncomfortable. The final measure, she said, is choice. He blinked. That is all, that is all. No puzzles, no hypothetical domes. No, he exhaled slowly. All right. She met his eyes. Do you choose to continue? He did not answer immediately. I choose, he said at last, to continue exploring this. Not because of tradition, not because of pressure, but because I respect you. And because when we work together, things stabilize. Like orbital shields, she said, preferably with fewer radiation spikes. A faint pulse of amusement passed across her expression. And you? he asked. I choose to continue, she said, not because you initiated the chase, but because you remained within it. He absorbed that quietly. Does this conclude the ritual? He asked. Yes. And what does that mean officially? It means the chase resolves in mutual accord. And unofficially, it means, she said, that you may offer praise with awareness. He smiled. In that case, she lifted one hand, choose your words carefully. He considered her for a moment. I admire your clarity, he said, and your patience, and the way you do not retreat from difficulty. Her ears angled forward fully, then relaxed into a neutral curve. Accepted, she said. The archival drone emitted a soft confirmation tone. Is that it? He asked. That is it. No fireworks. We are in orbit, she said. Fireworks would be irresponsible. Fair point. He felt something settle inside him then. Not triumph, not relief exactly, but alignment. He had entered the spire weeks ago eager to avoid error. Now he understood that error was inevitable. What mattered was whether one stayed to understand it. I have changed, he said quietly. Yes, she replied. I think more before speaking. You do. I also speak more deliberately. You do. He nodded once. I am still likely to say something disastrous. That probability remains non-zero. Comforting. She stepped fully into his space now, closing the final distance that had remained carefully measured until this point. The chase is complete, she said. What follows is not ritual. Good, he said softly. I was running out of formal stamina. Her ears tilted slightly, almost playful. Elias Rowan, she said, next time you compliment my attire, ensure you are prepared for the implications. He met her gaze steadily. I am, he said, and this time when silence settled between them it was not a test. It was equilibrium.